Welcome to the Arthur Moats Show.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Arthur Moats, and today's show is recorded out of Total Sports Enterprises, Pittsburgh's exclusive supplier in signed memorabilia. And we have to talk about the potential running back by committee approach that the Pittsburgh Steelers are planning to implement this season. Now, throughout OTAs, there have been numerous reports from not only the coaches, but the players that they're going to be using a running back by committee approach in order to save James Conner from a health standpoint. Now, when we talk about the productivity that James had last season in his first full season as a starter, he had close to 1,000 yards rushing, was able to make his first Pro Bowl, and at times looked flat out dominant. But I will say this, he did miss a couple of games due to injury, and this is his second season having some injuries. But overall, I still feel like he's a very healthy player in terms of being on the field and being available. Now, when we look at the other two running backs that will potentially be used in this running back by committee, first you have to talk about Jalen Samuels. Going into his second year, but last year, when he had his opportunity called, especially in that New England Patriots game, he showed a ton of promise, both as a runner, but also as a receiver out the backfield. And I think that he could be a highly productive player. Also going into year two, where a lot of young players make that big jump, I think he's a player who can definitely continue to produce and be productive as his role expands. Now, the next running back in the committee is Benny Snell Jr., the running back out of Kentucky, 4th-round pick, a physical, very passionate runner. We also what he was able to do at Kentucky, playing in the SEC and being highly productive. His style is very similar to James Conner as well, and I think that he's a guy who can run behind that offensive line that the Steelers have and be very successful. Now, when I think about the pros of the running back by committee approach, number one, it will save James Conner's body. You know, he won't have to be the workhorse. He won't have to get his body beat up. And also, he'll be able to stay fresh towards the end of the season and ultimately leading into the playoffs. The second thing that I like about the running back by committee approach is this. You get to utilize all three of the players' talents. James, physical, high volume carry guy. You think about Jalen Samuels, his ability to be a receiving threat out the backfield. And then Benny, another guy, very passionate, a hard-nosed thumper. I think all three of those guys, when you utilize them together, can be very, very effective. And then the third thing, when we're talking about from a business standpoint, it's a lot cheaper to pay running back by committee versus paying the workhorse, the workload guy, similar to what the situation was with Le'Veon Bell. The more carries, then the more productivity they are, or the more productivity they have, the higher their ticket price is going to be. So those are the pros to it. Now, the cons to this running back by committee is this. Number one, I feel like James Conner is a very high volume carry guy. The more touches he gets, the better he is, the more he's able to impose his will. So by taking some of those touches away from him, that might hinder his productivity. The second con that I have about the running back by committee approach is it's hard for guys to get into a rhythm when they're not constantly in there. When you're in there for this series, you're in there for a couple of plays. Now the next guy's coming in. Even though mentally you want to share the load, you want to share the wealth, it's very hard to get a rhythm and to stay warm. Now, the last con that I have in terms of the running back by committee approach is it gets predictable sometimes. If you're not careful, when you're implementing certain running backs for certain situations over and over and over, eventually defenders will start to take note to that, and they will be able to scheme that and ultimately be successful against it. So those are my negative thoughts about the running back by committee approach. But ultimately, I think if they use the running back by committee approach the right way, I think it should be James Conner getting the lion's share of whatever way they want to divide it up. But ultimately, I think that Jalen and Benny should see the field. They should have opportunity to be productive and help the team out. But ultimately, James should still get the majority of the touches because we saw what he could do when he gets going. It's James Conner, baby. But that's my thoughts on it. But you know what we got to do? I want to hear your thoughts. So make sure you comment down below. Let me know what you feel about this running back by committee approach. And hey, appreciate you tuning in. And until next time, peace.